Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Acting Prime Minister, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members, I rise to address the statement delivered by His Excellency the President. Madam Speaker, at the outset, I wish to reiterate and reaffirm the statements that support the statements made by His Excellency the President. The address by His Excellency the President was both inspiring and admirable, in the vein of some of the greatest speeches ever made in this august House and beyond. Madam Speaker, and in particular, I was moved by his calls for a people-based and focused election that promote national development and the ethos of a Fijian people that is united in its aim and aspiration for a better Fiji. Madam Speaker, the former US President John F. Kennedy said in his famous speech on 26 June 1963, and I quote, "It is an offense not only against history, but an offense against humanity, separating families, dividing husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, and dividing a people who wish to be joined together," unquote. Madam Speaker, in 2020, we will reach a milestone of the 50th year of Fiji's independence. For most of this period, Madam Speaker, we were trapped in walls of that divided us. Walls of hatred, walls of communalism. And Madam Speaker, before in the elections, the fight was between Fijians and Indians rather than on policies and development. Madam Speaker, one has to realize how powerful the 2013 Constitution is. By getting everyone together. I'm coming to you. You will get it from me today. During the first term of the Fiji First government, we have committed to breaking down these walls to unite all Fijians. This was not just political speech-making, but a concerted and concentrated effort to make one Fiji for all Fijians. History will judge Fiji for many things in its 50 years, some bad, some good, Madam Speaker, but history will have to judge this radical transformation of our country into one united force as one of the greatest achievements among former colonial states celebrating their first 50 years of independence. Madam Speaker, listening to the response over the past day of Parliament from the opposition, I strongly feel that these achievements and the heeding of universal values of peace, progress and unity carries little or no weight for the most of them. Madam Speaker, I must note the gutter level of politics in their calls for communalism that the members of the opposition are making in calling for a return to a divided and regressive Fiji. This will be a mistake of massive proportions. The people of Fiji spoke clearly and loudly in the last election, and they will do the same come 2018. Rejecting all that divide us. Madam Speaker, I do not wish to labor the point or tend to God. To make a point, the fact speaks for itself. Once again, we have an opposition that relies on rhetoric, style sermons, rather than making any concrete or material contribution to this country. I'm responding to you now. Talk facts. Talk facts. Talk figures. Talk business. Talk development on 8 years of growth, of lowest level of employment, of social and economic indicators of a better Fiji. But Madam Speaker, how can we expect them to talk about all this when they are ringing in praises of walls and pulling out the race card? Madam Speaker, when this August House reconvened, Madam Speaker, when this August House reconvened for the current session of Parliament, I was hoping against hope for some shared constructive dialogue from the opposition. As I said, Madam Speaker, I was hoping against hope and have to come to the conclusion that there is no hope for any constructive contribution from our members of the opposition. In fact, Madam Speaker, I don't blame them because most of the time they have to solve and resolve their internal bickerings. Following that, we have to really against their calls for divided Fiji. We cannot and will not have that. Madam Speaker, the reference to the Bible and supremacy of one God over another is the work of mischief makers and false prophets. False prophets, Madam Speaker, who have worked against the very people they profess to be prophets for. It used to be they who were also often rural dwellers of our society that these false prophets prey upon. They have to wake up at some time. They have to wake up sometime. False prophets, I mean, Madam Speaker, I'm reliably told that false prophets do wake up from time to time. And I live more in hope of that than fear, Madam Speaker. And when they wake up, they will come to terms with the new reality that our rural people are a lot better off now than ever before, as the Fiji First government has rolled out a massive number of development for them. Hopefully, they will realize that we have a better educated and more mobile than ever before all over Fiji. In either case, Madam Speaker, the work of false prophets and politicians is the work of the devil. And we know the devil does not deliver on any promise, false or not. Madam Speaker, instead, as believers in leadership through service and delivery of our services, we will work with the provision of the 2013 Fiji Constitution, a constitution whose vision and success we celebrated in unity and harmony just last week, and thanks to Honorable Prem Singh for attending. Madam Speaker, as His Excellency the President remarked in his address, the success of the Constitution that provides the foundation for a progressive and harmonious society. I would like to add to sentiments of the address that the success of the Constitution also comes from the political will of this Fiji First government, who in their first term have governance delivered on all accounts to the people of Fiji. When the Fiji First government took oath of office under the 2013 Constitution, it committed to the people of Fiji by pledging allegiance to the supreme law of our land. I really don't know what was the case with opposition. And we have continued to uphold our pledge and allegiance in ensuring a commitment to delivering on our policies, even in the face of adversity. As our Honorable Prime Minister has pointed out on numerous occasions, we lost more than a third of our GDP when T.C. Winston struck. If we need indisputable proof of resilient people backed by a government committed to their recovery and well-being, Madam Speaker, you will not find a better example than our rise post T.C. Winston. We not only recovered, but we sustained continued economic growth through this adverse period. Madam Speaker, the Constitution which His Excellency the President has pointed out in his address moves us forward towards development and progress for all. Regardless of any walls or divides that is proposed for us, or as some opposition members profess to do so as a divine ordination for their mischief-making and work for darker powers. Madam Speaker, to rephrase the late former US President John F. Kennedy, we want a government whose public acts are responsible to all and obligated to none. As a government, we are committed to a Fiji for all Fijians and what our minds dictates to be in the national interest of Fiji and for all Fijians. And nothing will change that. Madam Speaker, I have said this before in this House, and I will say it again. What the Constitution provides for in paper, we, the Fiji First government, deliver on the ground. Madam Speaker, once again we have unfounded attacks on the Constitution by members of the opposition. The real issue is not with this document. The issue is with how the Fiji first government is able to deliver on its promises. This is the real problem they have. And I know they are worried what they're going to say during the election. And let me repeat, Madam Speaker, that this delivery on what is promised is the real reason for the opposition's continued attack on founding document of our beloved nation. The Fiji first government in its first term of office has delivered good, accountable, transparent and progressive governance for all Fijians from all walks of life, from corners of our beautiful islands. This is what His Excellency the President referred to when he urged the House to contest the election on the basis of policies over the future, not ethnicity, religion or geography. His Excellency the President, I said in the opening of Parliament for 2016-2017, is a true servant of this nation, a soldier, civil servant, a politician and a people's president. Madam Speaker, let me add to that and say that in addressing issues of global concern on climate change, His Excellency has elevated Fiji and his high office as a global statesman with his comments on our role as a nation in meeting the realities of climate change. In his address, His Excellency impressed upon us the need for clarity of purpose and the strength of steel in our convictions on climate change. To match local concerns with the ever-growing wave of international and global action on climate change, Fiji's action on climate change is headlined by the Honorable Prime Minister's presidency of COP23. Madam Speaker, we as a nation look forward to a small island state leading the 197 countries gathered in Bonn, Germany at COP23 towards consensus and concerted global action on climate change. Yet, Madam Speaker, as the country gears for global leadership of COP23, the usual elements, including the Honourable Leader of Opposition, are bent on putting us into reverse gear when it comes to climate change. Madam Speaker, I was disappointed in the media reports based on statements made by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition relating to our towns and cities. It is hard to work out from exactly where and how the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has got her information in the statement made by her and published in the media on 29th August 2017. Maybe it comes from her Coconut Wireless service based on the Bilibili model for action on climate change. Madam Speaker, in response, I would like to highlight some of the actions and awareness on climate change across my ministry. The Honourable Leader of Opposition in particular pointed fingers at our towns and cities and the environment management that needs to be corrected. In line with our commitment to the Paris Agreement, the street lights have been changed to 100 to 120 watts LED. There is a number of green initiatives with the pilot project in Nelanga on solar lighting that will become the model to spread this initiative to other villages and settlements. Madam Speaker, these pilot projects will extend to use of renewable energy and sustainable building design and construction across my ministry, in housing, transport and local government, all designed to reduce our carbon footprints. Our towns and cities are at forefront of actions and advocacy on climate change. Madam Speaker, let me point out some of the highlights. One, we have embarked on major coastal erosion mitigation projects through municipal councils in Sabu-Sabu, Nasinu and Lemi to combat the effects of climate change. Two, we have begun construction of Fiji's first climate change park in Tabua, using reused and recycled materials with awareness and mitigation programs that will include all segments of local community. Three, Nandi has joined the Global Compact of Mayors, and this will lead to major initiatives in measuring carbon emission in Nandi as a pilot for our municipal centers. We will highlight this data on global monitoring platforms under GCOM to establish benchmarks so that we can set targets for carbon emission reduction. Four, in Lavuka, mitigation of coastal erosion with the related mitigation of creek ecosystem with the binding systems made from reused aluminium fish scrap bins. Five, in municipal councils across Fiji, we have embarked on upgrading and bringing in best practice in waste management as well as advocacy on action programs on climate change using platforms such as municipal markets in programs that are to benefit in particular our rural women vendors. Six, All municipal council carnivals focus on action advocacy, and I'm pleased to note the proactive role played by our contestants and the carnivals in taking climate change awareness to local communities across Fiji. Madam Speaker, comments have been made on the lack of enforcement of regulations at the local government level. Let me give some facts on this. We have issued more than 6,000 littering notices from last year to date. Secondly, we have taken 5 cases through the DPP's office against those waste removal contractors found illegally dumping rubbish. This sends a strong message that enforcement of the anti-litter decree will continue. We will increase efforts to ensure a litter-free environment, not just in urban areas, but also in peri-urban and rural areas by placing large waste skip bins. Madam Speaker, in this last Parliament session, I would like to thank and acknowledge the work of the various sections and departments under my portfolio of local government, housing, environment, infrastructure, and transport. I would also like to thank and acknowledge all the stakeholders, corporate entities, intergovernmental agencies, and local, regional, and international partners for their contribution to our work. The Ministry covers significant areas and much of work focused on development aspects of our government. I look forward to the continued input by my Ministry and all stakeholders, our initiatives on climate change. We will continue to work on principle of action and advocacy on these pressing global issues. Madam Speaker, before I conclude, I just want to respond to some of the statements made by Honorable Bolitavu yesterday. That was in regards to the national candidate list of 2014 general election. Being a lawyer, you should know better that the matter is before Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have touched that. Might be better for him and good for him to withdraw that. 2, he talked about common identity. He forgets that the leader of his party have already accepted in this August House the common identity. The problem now is maybe he doesn't know which leader. There's 2 leaders. 3, Madam Speaker, 3, Madam Speaker, you also touched on the disabled access, and the Honourable Minister has well covered yesterday in a response. Madam Speaker, let me congratulate the Honourable Prime Minister for his upcoming presidency of COP23 and wish the team representing Fiji at the pre-COP and COP23 meetings the best. I know that my ministry, like all Fijians, will look forward to initiatives on climate action arising from negotiation at COP23 so we can all meet climate change challenges as a united global community. In this final address during this term of government, Madam Speaker, and keeping in mind the key points raised in the address to Parliament by His Excellency the President, I have limited my address to and programs that relates to good governance and climate change. In closing, Madam Speaker, once again, I would like to thank His Excellency for his thoughts on a way forward for all of us, that this House, as we seek to lead our nation. I know it will motivate us in keeping to the foundation of leadership by saving all Fijians, for this generation and for the generations to come. I invite everyone in this House to heed the words of His Excellency and closely examine our own words and deeds when we strive to lead the nation. Let's forget about all those slogans and the words. Let's work for the betterment of this country and for the people. May God bless us and may God bless you.